the result of 40-plus years of corruption.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before John Steigerwald at 5 on AM 1250. The Answer.
It's going to take a lot of trees. It should help you enjoy your weekend coming up here to know that Katy Perry, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bradley Cooper, maybe Barack Obama, and Prince Harry spent a few days this week trying to prevent you and the rest of the planet from being doomed in 12 years. There was a party thrown by Google at a resort in Verdura, Italy, and it was all about climate change. And that's right, even Prince Harry was there, and he gave a really good speech, apparently, in his bare feet. Talk about commitment. Of course, none of these heroes flew commercial. They all came on private jets, 114 of them. Prince Harry has probably never seen the inside of an airport or a commercial plane, but by flying private, he put 3,000 tons of carbon in the air, 10 times more than if he had flown commercial, 10 times more. Now, that may actually be a good thing. We've had people on the show who were talking about that, but none of these people believe that. Trees for the Future, an interesting organization, estimated that Harry would have to plant, are you ready, 190 trees to make up for his footprint for this little trip. He'll probably get right on that this weekend after tea. And the New York Post reported that for them to make up for the 114 private jets that would put 100,000 kilograms of CO2 in the air, somebody figured out that you'd have to plant 15,000 trees over 75,000 acres to make up for that. Of course, they also hung around on really expensive gas-burning yachts. Katy Perry showed up with Orlando Bloom on a 330 million pound, as in money pound, yacht. And she jumped into a Maserati SUV, which probably doesn't get really good gas mileage. And Diane Furstenberg and Naomi Campbell didn't fly in. They showed up in a $200 million yacht. Obama was there, probably didn't fly TWA. So they had a nice party, and we're glad that they were able to save the planet in the process. We're going to talk to a guy when we come back who could have put money to good use in some black neighborhoods, all that money, a former civil rights activist. We'll do that right after this. Stick around. Miracle League of Moon's Mike McGoolick joins us. Mike, how's the new field house coming?
The building permit was issued. We have the majority of the earthwork done, and they should be pouring foundation pads in the restrooms over the next week or two.
Those restrooms are really going to make a big difference for athletes with special needs, aren't they?
The ability to be able to use a restroom has always been difficult. You see how little space there is or little accommodations are made for individuals with disabilities, but it's something that we can make a little bit easier for everybody.
From the field house to the ball field to the playground, it's really going to be state-of-the-art.
It'll be updated with ramping systems and different things so that individuals that have problems with their mobility will be able to get to the same spots that everyone else easily can get to.
And every dollar you give goes directly to the project.
Our board is funding all the administrative costs, so any donation from anyone goes directly to the construction of the field.
Let's make miracles happen. Give today at miraclesinmoon.org/donate. Sponsored by Robinson Town Center, a Zamias Properties entity.
Warning, property protected by electric fence. Sharks sighted in water.
Warnings are truly handy.
Bridge out.
But you may not always get a warning when it comes to threats to your identity or the personal information on your devices. That's why LifeLock Identity Theft Protection includes Norton Security for even more protection. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect identity threats, like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security protects up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but having someone looking out for you...
Warning, minefield ahead.
...will help keep you out of danger. Join now and get 10% off your first year. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code TITTLE. That's promo code TITTLE for 10% off. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
Imagine doing one thing that gives you an entirely different perspective about your place in the world. Think it would be worth it? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher, inviting you to join me for a 10-day Stand With Israel tour through the land of Israel in December of 2019. Come with me to get firsthand insight into Israel's fascinating past and promising future. We'll learn about the geopolitical, economic, and spiritual dynamics of one of the most fascinating places on earth. And you'll share experiences that will change how you view the world. Walk the ancient temple steps, touch the Western Wall, sail on the Sea of Galilee, pray on the Mount of Beatitudes. The list goes on. Return home inspired, renewed, and empowered. If you've ever dreamed of seeing Israel, this is your chance. Join me for a life-changing adventure to give you a renewed sense of purpose. The 10-day Stand With Israel tour, December 2019.
Get more details about the trip or sign up now to join Mike Gallagher and Dennis Prager on the Stand With Israel tour by going to theanswerpgh.com/Israel.
Recent storms have done a number on Pittsburgh homes and businesses. This is John Steigerwald. If you've had damage to your roof, windows, siding, or gutters and downspouts, you may be eligible to get them replaced or repaired free of charge. All you have to do is visit windowsruspittsburgh.com for a free inspection from one of their highly trained appraisers. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, siding, gutters and downspouts, doors, and of course windows. If damage isn't your issue and you just want something new, you'll love their no-pressure approach, no hidden fees, and one of the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Why pay twice as much with other companies? Visit the area's premier exterior replacement company at windowsruspittsburgh.com. Mention STAG for an additional 10% off at windowsruspittsburgh.com. That's windowsruspittsburgh.com. Windows R Us, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday right here on the John Steigerwald Show. windowsruspittsburgh.com.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, it's hard to imagine anybody being able to pander more than the Democrats have been pandering to black voters for the last 3 years, or actually longer than that, but especially during these debates. And you wonder why they waste their time on a group that already gives them 90% of their vote, 95% really. Maybe they're not as confident as they used to be, though. Maybe for good reason. Black voters may be changing their minds. Robert Woodson is the founder and CEO of the Woodson Center. He's black and a former civil rights activist, and he joins us now. Robert, thanks for being here.
Pleased to be here.
So what is the, before we go further here, what is the focus of the Woodson Center?
The Woodson Center for the past 36 years has been a national not-for-profit that has helped low-income leaders in drug-infested, crime-ridden neighborhoods to develop solutions to their problems by building on the strengths of the people living there. We provide technical assistance to them, training, access to financing, so they can begin to solve their problems. We have had a reputation over the past 30 years of going into crime-ridden neighborhoods and helping groups that are there to rebuild and reduce violence and improve the economic well-being of the people living there.
And where are you located?
I'm headquartered in Washington, D.C. We have a network of not-for-profit partners that are in 39 states. There are about 3,000 of them whose lives we've touched over the last 30 years. There are different racial and ethnic groups. They share one thing in common, and that is triumph over poverty and despair in their communities.
And you founded it in 1981. Ronald Reagan had just become president. Is there any significance to that, or just a coincidence?
No, it just happened to be a coincidence. I'm a veteran of the civil rights movement, but I left that movement when I realized that, as Dr. King said, what good does it do to have the right to live in a neighborhood of your choosing if you don't have the economic means to exercise that right? So I had to move beyond race in the 60s and began to deal with the challenges of people in low-income communities not having the means to walk through when opportunity opens.
So, yeah, your bio says that you're a former civil rights activist. When exactly did you become a former? Was it in the 60s?
Back in probably 1968. The death of Dr. King, and the reason that I left is, first of all, I was always opposed to forced busing for integration, which put me out of touch with the other leaders. Also, I believe that a lot of the people who led those demonstrations, who were college educated, they took advantage of the opportunities that were open, but low-income blacks who were not as well educated did not benefit. So I realized that there was a kind of bait-and-switch game going on where we used the demographics of low-income blacks as the bait, and the switch occurs when the money comes. I was not a fan of the poverty programs. From the very beginning, I knew it was going to be more disabling than a help to low-income people.
You're talking about the war on poverty, I guess, officially began in 1964. You were still involved in the civil rights movement, but you didn't like that from the beginning?
No, because I thought it was a perversion of it. When the poverty program first got started, I was active in an organization, and it really had a lot of low-income grassroots leaders who were running the organization, being paid by the government. But as soon as these grassroots leaders began to raise questions about mayors were running the cities and challenging politicians, they went to the federal government and got this nuisance out of their way. And so they changed the federal guidelines as to who can qualify for federal funds, that you had to have a college education, and that automatically removed all low-income leaders around the country. And I knew from that point that the poverty program was intended more for those who are providing service to the poor. In the last 50 years, we spent $22 trillion on programs to aid the poor. 70 cents of all those dollars did not go to the poor. It went to those who served the poor, professionals, and they asked not which problems are solvable, but which ones are fundable. Mm-hmm. So we've created a whole class of people who make their living off of other people being dependent.
Yep. And, I've always felt, at least for a long time, and I've heard people say, it's a ridiculous simplification of it, but you'd almost be better off just airlifting bundles of money in and dropping it into the neighborhood and eliminate the middleman.
It really is, and the issue's a lot more complicated than that. But it is really based on a deficit model. So what I've tried to do over the past 50 years of my advocacy is to work on a different way of approaching poverty. The traditional way is to go into low-income neighborhoods and ask why 70% of the children that are living there parents are raising children that are dropping out of school in jail. Mm-hmm. We go to the 30% who are achieving against the odds and ask not how many people are failing and why, but how many are succeeding and what explains their success. So our approach is to build on the success and capacity of people and try to take what's working among the 30% and apply it to the 70%.
Yeah, and what is the reaction from the people in those neighborhoods, the black people who've been living in those neighborhoods for all this time and seen so much failure and seen the government involvement, but not enough people making progress as a result of it?
Well, it's created a lot of despair, but also it only takes a small numbers of people. Only 3% of the people in our economy are entrepreneurs, but they generate 70% of the jobs. We found this to be true in the social economy. It only takes a small number of people to generate interest in a new and innovative ways to reduce poverty. One of our programs that we supported, if your listeners would go on YouTube and go Bertha Gilkey at 60 Minutes, you'll see an example of what can happen when you empower low-income leaders in those communities and give them the ability to take responsibility for managing their own affairs. Mm-hmm. It's a public housing project that became so successful at driving the drug dealers out and improving the quality of life that market rate housing was built right across the street from it. It was a real island of excellence that we thought would really be a model for how we help poor people. But we got a big pushback from that for years afterwards. Well, when you're talking about the 30%, how much are the 30% held back by having to be stuck in
schools that they can't escape, bad ones.
Yeah, a lot of them are stuck, but they also start their own schools. I was involved in the choice voucher movement in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. People usually associate vouchers and charter schools with white conservatives. But the whole choice and vouchers on education started in the black community of Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the early 90s. A Democratic state senator, Polly Williams, was really the spark behind the whole choice in education. Because black kids were failing so poorly in the public schools, she started a movement to give parents the choice, and parents opt out of going to public schools, and a lot of private schools were started, and education achievement really increased, and that's still the case today.
But the Democrats do as much as they can, it seems anyway, to prevent school choice from happening.
Well, that's true, but it's very interesting. This last Florida election, DeSantis was a Republican running for governor against Gillum, the black candidate. And because the Republicans supported vouchers in education, 100,000 low-income black parents split their vote and voted for the Republican, and DeSantis won by 32,000 votes. 100,000 of those votes came from the black community. So, and even though President Obama and Oprah Winfrey campaigned for the black candidate, 100,000 black families expressed their independence and voted instead for the Republican. It wasn't an ideological vote. It's because the folks are practical. They were smart enough not to vote party, but to vote issues.
Would you say that Barack Obama being elected president twice has been an overall positive thing for blacks in America?
No, it hasn't. I mean, he's done very little for black colleges. He's done very little to bring us together. The expectation was that he would be a healer and that he would make America more post-racial. But he's done just the opposite. I think he helped to polarize us more. When his Attorney General, Eric Holder, when members of the Black Panther Party in Pennsylvania were yelling racial slurs at white voters at a polling booth, and they were arrested, the Justice Department refused to press charges, and all charges were dropped. But yet, when white nationalists did the same thing, then they came out again. So it was not an even-handed approach to racism. We're more divided now than we were before.
Yeah. Do you think we're talking to Robert Woodson? He's the CEO and founder of the Woodson Center. Do you think that it would have been better for blacks and I guess for everybody if the first black president had been a conservative? Not just because maybe you agree with, we might agree more with the conservatives' approach, but if Barack Obama had the same talents and projected the same image, but was selling conservative ideas, and all of a sudden conservatives were trashing him and saying he needs to go, and he became very unpopular among Republicans, you might be able to make a case that some racism was involved. But
let me just say that my views are more independent. I mean, when I look at states run by conservatives, I don't see much difference in terms of how those welfare programs are run or how the systems are run. I'm more independent in my views. I want to see effective leadership. I've seen effective leadership, for instance, with a conservative in Dick Reardon, for instance, in 1990 was the first Republican elected mayor in 35 years. And he was elected because not he was a conservative. He went into the community 2 years before he ran for office and worked with low-income Hispanic leaders and helped build a after-school, state-of-the-art after-school facility. and developed and earned the trust of the people, and therefore when he ran for office, they were willing to vote for a Republican, not because he was a Republican, it's because he was an effective leader. And I think that that's what people are wanting to vote for today. They don't want to vote for either a Democrat or a Republican. They want someone who comes in and earns the vote because they're putting in place effective policies.
What is your reaction to President Trump's comments about Baltimore recently?
Well, I just wrote that they were rude, crude, and true.
Yeah.
I think that the way he said it, the fact that he generalized about everybody in Baltimore was wrong.
Right.
And the fact that he targeted the Congressman Cummings, I think deflected attention from the real substance of what he said. If he had been mild-mannered and speaking about, we wouldn't be talking about it. But I think Baltimore, the low-income blacks in that city, have some real problems, and I think the president has helped them by talking about it the way he did, because now maybe something will be done about it that hasn't been done before. But if he was mild-mannered, I guess, in talking, we wouldn't even be discussing.
No, if he would have if he would have made the normal political and reserved, dignified statement, it just would have gone right over everybody's head.
I agree with you.
Now, how will those comments, and I guess he's going to be, I have a feeling he's going to be going after other cities that have been run by Democrats for literally, if you added them all up, thousands of years without a Republican. Will his going after them, will it help him get black votes?
The president already posed 20% in the black community. I mean, he's gotten more support. I mean, low-income blacks know that they've been left out like low-income whites have. And that's why, I really think what's refreshing about him, he's not a guilty white man. I think we have suffered enough guilty white people who continue to patronize, like Warren and some of the candidates that I saw. And I think that the president really doesn't care what people think. He's going to say what's on his mind, and I think that's refreshing. You can like it or not, but at least it's gotten people talking about the issues in a way that they would not have if he'd been more mild-mannered.
I got to finish up here. I got about a minute and a half left, Robert. If you could do one thing to improve the prospects of young blacks in America, what would it be?
I would, first of all, start with looking for leadership in the community suffering the problem. My son Jamal Woodson is a citizen of Pittsburgh, and he does a tremendous job through his basketball league and reaching out, being a positive mentor to hundreds and hundreds of kids. I think more young people, young leaders, need to do what he and others have done, and is provide leadership at the local level by actually getting into the lives and providing them hope and opportunity.
Now, Robert, is your son Lamar, he lives in Pittsburgh?
Jamal, yeah, he lives in Pittsburgh, and he's the manager of another radio station, has been for years, but he's a fine young man who's passionate, as I am, about helping inner city young people and others come together using sports and other kind of healthy outlets to help them to build better lives. And so I'm really proud of him. And
that's great.
And he's a model for what I think all young adults should be doing.
There's only one problem with him. He works for another radio station. I can't have him on my radio show.
Said it.
Hey, thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. Love to have you on again. I always appreciate seeing you on. I've seen you many times on Fox. I've always been impressed. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and that's Robert Woodson of the Woodson Center. We'll be right back.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump's pick for the Director of National Intelligence has announced his withdrawal from consideration.
President Trump has withdrawn the nomination of John Ratcliffe to be the Director of National Intelligence. Ratcliffe says he was humbled and honored to have been considered for the position. The president says he will name another nominee soon.
Correspondent John Scott, President Trump said there was too much resistance to the nomination.
I think he would have had great Republican support, probably would have had no Democrat support, which would have been nice to get some. But I think he would have done fine, but it would have been a long, hard slog.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 98 points, the Nasdaq dropped 107, and the S&P 500 was lower by 21. An arms treaty signed by President Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev is now null and void. This is SRN News.
When it comes to your pain, many of you might be skeptical, like I was, about ordering Relief Factor. Pat Boone again for this wonderful 100% drug-free supplement designed to help your own body lower or eliminate occasional aches and pains due to aging, exercise, everyday living. I'm not skeptical any longer. The 3-week quick start is now discounted to only $19.95. Why don't you let us see if we can get you out of pain, too, at ReliefFactor.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. That's why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
Try ZipRecruiter now for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hugh Hewitt can see a renewed relationship with
is close to winning. He's going to be the next Prime Minister of Great Britain, and that's going to be good for everybody. Boris Johnson wants to make resettling relations with President Trump one of his first acts in Downing Street by traveling to the United States to negotiate a post-Brexit trade deal.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, weekday mornings at 6, right before Mike Gallagher at 9 on AM 1250. The Answer.
Are you worried that the next market downturn could rob you of your wealth and your security? Are you concerned that your lifetime may last longer than your life savings? You don't have to be. For over 30 years, Gary Hunt has advocated for strong retirement principles, helping families in Allegheny and Westmoreland generate more income while protecting their retirement funds. And Gary now offers retirement-minded savers and investors a free book so you can better understand what it takes to structure a more stable, secure, and confident retirement. Call Gary Hunt and request your copy of Income Allocation. 844-366-HUNT. That's 844-366-4868.
What is a warrior? At Portersville Christian School, a warrior is more than a team name. Here, at their fully accredited K through 12th grade Christian school, just 15 minutes north of Cranberry, a warrior is taught to serve, to passionately model the love of Christ toward neighbor, community, and world. A warrior is challenged to learn as they develop a strong work ethic, achieve academic excellence, and cultivate a lifelong love of learning. And a warrior is trained to lead through Christian character and integrity so they can impact the world for Christ by their example wherever God calls them. So, are you a warrior? Discover Portersville Christian School, a fully accredited K through 12th grade Christian school just 15 minutes north of Cranberry, where warriors are made. At ourpcs.org. That's OURPCS.org.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did, and just maybe someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
Got some showers moving through and a flood warning. Really difficult to get around the area. We are just totally tied up on the Parkway West, outbound Banksville Road out to 60 and inbound starting around 79 all the way to the Fort Pitt Tunnel. Parkway East, that stacks up outbound around Boulevard of the Allies out to Greensburg Pike and pretty much all the way inbound as well. Now we've got a heavy ride on the inbound Liberty Bridge, that because of an earlier accident. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
For some of you, tonight starts out with a shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, we'll have partly cloudy skies, humid with the low 65. Then tomorrow, it'll be partly sunny, and for most, it'll be a decent August day with a high 83, but there could be an afternoon thunderstorm in the Laurels. Mostly clear with a low 63 tomorrow night. Then Sunday looks pretty good. Partly sunny with a high of 83 again. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Frank Strait.
You're listening to the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
And now, it's time for The Jerk of the Week, starring John Steigerwald.
Well, we could have picked any one of the 20 participants in the Democrat debates, but that would be too easy. It would take up too much time. And we could pick any one of them every week. But the winner this week is Don Lemon of CNN. Congratulations to him. Now, there probably isn't anybody in the media who hates Donald Trump more than Don Lemon. He was one of the moderators of the debate on CNN, and a debate moderator, at least I don't think, isn't supposed to be isn't supposed to blatantly work his opinions into his questions, but this jerk did.
We want to turn now to the issue of race in America. Congressman O'Rourke, President Trump is pursuing a re-election strategy based in part on racial division. How do you convince primary voters that you'd be the best nominee to take on President Trump and heal the racial divide in America? Senator Bennett, a question for you. Why are you the best candidate to heal the racial divide that exists in this country today, which has been stoked by the president's racist rhetoric? Secretary Castro, after the president's racist tweets attacking Baltimore and Congressman Elijah Cummings, the mayor of Baltimore slammed the tweets and said to the president, and I quote here, "Help us. Send the resources that we need to rebuild America." So what would you do for Baltimore and other cities that need help? Senator Klobuchar, what do you say to those Trump voters who prioritize the economy over the president's bigotry?
Well, first of all, there are people that voted for Donald Trump before that aren't racist. They just wanted a better shake in the economy.
Wow, that was Amy Klobuchar. If we had a non-jerk of the week, she might win. That was her at the end. She actually was able to say that all Trump voters aren't racist. Now, she won't win any friends in the Democrat Party for that. But anyway, congratulations to Don Lemon of CNN. He is the Windows Are Us Jerk of the Week.
The Jerk of the Week is brought to you by Windows R Us, Pittsburgh's premier exterior replacement company. Expert repair and replacement for windows, roofs, siding, doors, gutters, and downspouts. Why pay double? Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
So, Don Lemon, Jerk of the Week. He could be Jerk of the Decade, actually, but, we have to pick one a week. We could actually do Jerk of the Day around here. It'd be easy to find somebody every day. I got one for you here. I don't know if he's the jerk or the people at Access Hollywood are the jerks, but there's a show called Access Hollywood, which I've seen, bits and pieces when I've walked by the television and it's on, or I've seen it flipping by, and I have seen this guy. I don't know anything about him. But NBC executives met this week to consider whether to let him keep hosting the show Extra and host the NBC show Access Hollywood in September because he made some comments about transgender children. According to the source for Radar Online, they were talking about whether or not they should keep them. Now, the remarks he made on the Candace Owens Show, she's a conservative black woman, and he was asked by her about a new trend in which Hollywood celebrities are, quote, saying their child is picking their gender. Now, you would think that, again, this is one of those coma stories, because if you were in a coma for 10 years and you woke up today and you found out that there were people with a straight face saying that they just had a child and that they're going to let the child decide, rather than just, looking at the child when it's naked and deciding what it is, they're going to wait and let the child decide, not the adult who's already had, years of experience. They're going to let the child decide. If you wake up after being in a coma for 10 years, you think people are kidding you, and you think you might want to go back into the coma. But this was Lopez's response to that question. I'm trying to understand it myself, and please don't lump me into that whole group. I'm kind of blown away, too. Look, I'm never one to tell anyone how to parent their kids, obviously, and I think if you come from a place of love, you really can't go wrong. But at the same time, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you're feeling a certain way or you think you're a boy or a girl, whatever the case may be, well, it's a completely, and you can see just in that answer, he's trying as hard as he can to couch it with coming from a place of, I mean, he knows what he's saying is dangerous, just by the way he said it. So people got upset, obviously, because he cast some doubt on the idea that a 3-year-old child, excuse me, Sally, what's the name for Aaron? You're a little girl. Which gender would? Well, I don't know. How do you give them a name? How do they have a name? Well, it doesn't matter what their name, or do they change it? I don't know. So if you're 3 and the name is Aaron, do you then change it to Aaron when you're 3? You know, Dad, Mom, I think I'd like to change the spelling to Aaron, and I'm going with boy. Is that okay with you guys? Whatever you want, Aaron. You can be what you want. This is what you're supposed to do with a 3-year-old child, okay? So Extra released a statement, and this is major league puke material. While we have enjoyed a long relationship with Mario Lopez, who we know to be a caring person, the opinions he expressed in this interview do not reflect those of Extra. We wholeheartedly embrace our friends from the LGBTQ community and believe they need support and love. For more support on these issues, you can go to glad.org and blah, blah, blah. So then, Lopez, instead of saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry, but I know people can disagree, but sue me. I think that asking a 3-year-old child which gender he, she wants to be is insane, okay? He can't say that. Instead, he comes out with this to People magazine. The comments I made were ignorant and insensitive, and now I have a deeper understanding of how hurtful they were. No, you don't. You don't have there's no way he has a deeper understanding. There's no way. He still feels the same way. What he understands is he's not allowed to say how he feels, okay? He's not changing how he feels. And what he should be saying is the comments I made were taken as ignorant and insensitive, and I now have a deeper understanding of how I just was insane to think I could get away with saying something that made that much sense. But what he said was, the comments I made were ignorant and insensitive, and I now have a deeper understanding of how hurtful they were. I have been, of course, and always will be an ardent supporter of the LGBT community. Of course you are. And I'm going to use this opportunity to better educate myself. Moving forward, I will be more informed and thoughtful. No, he won't. He'll be more careful with saying what he really believes on television because he knows he can't get away with it because the stupid people win in Hollywood and TV and then basically in the media. I liked Piers Morgan, who's a liberal, I think. I know he's a liberal, but I find him, and I don't see him a lot either. I see him on stuff like this. I don't watch he's on a show on the BBC. I never see that. But this is what Piers Morgan said. What nonsense. No 3-year-old child can possibly self-determine their own gender or sexuality. Imagine that. Mario's been shamefully bullied into apologizing for stating what every parent knows to be the truth. I've had 4 kids, and they could barely determine what day it is at that age. He followed later by stating, I don't think transgender people are nuts. I do, however, think it's nuts to let a 3-year-old make any life-altering decision about anything. They haven't a clue. How can anybody argue with anything in that statement that Piers Morgan said? So, I mean, maybe I should find somebody who can make the argument. Call me, 844-302-1250. I'd be happy to hear from you. Just please, I'm begging you. Somebody call me and tell me how it's not stupid to expect a 3-year-old to be able to make a life-altering decision, as he says, to pick their gender at 3 years old. He's still pooping. No, they're probably not pooping in their pants at 3. By then, they're getting over that, okay? And they don't know what gender they are. They don't. There's just no way they do. At 3. I mean, it's bad enough at 10 or 8. You see these... what do you call them? Drag queen at the libraries doing it. So I really liked what what Emily Jasinski of The Federalist wrote about this. This is really good. Just one paragraph. This isn't the consequence of some vast left-wing conspiracy. She's talking about what happened to Lopez here. But an output of the elite progressive machine. She has that in caps. This machine emboldens fringe campus leftism to migrate from ivory towers to Twitter, where coteries of progressive, reflexively pile-on dissenters, catching the attention of perpetually online journalists who use social media as an assignment editor. That's a great line. Progressives reflexively pile on dissenters, catching the attention of perpetually online journalists like me, who use social media as an assignment editor and elevate small backlashes into national stories by assigning news value where little exists. This panics those media executives who in turn coerce garden variety apologies out of flailing public figures. That perfectly describes what happened to Lopez. And it happens all the time. I'm trying to think. There was an example. I can't think of it right. It just popped into my head. There was an example a week or two ago where, a Disney character, a mermaid, they decided that the mermaid was going to be black. And somebody put out there that there was a backlash. And the statement that there was a backlash was based on like 2 tweets. And they called that a backlash. Nobody cared. There aren't 2 white people in the United States who care what color the mermaid is in a stupid Disney cartoon. They just don't. But they have to just feed this myth, and so that's a backlash now. That's what she's talking about. Reflexively pile on dissenters, catching the attention of perpetually online journalists who use social media as an assignment editor. So there you have it. Now, there's a bunch of people who could have been jerks of the week there, but Mario Lopez and whoever works at NBC would have been strong candidates. We'll give them the honorable mention. I don't know. I think they get a silver medal for that. I don't know what we give them, but that's the award for them. Now, which brings me to this, and you'll be happy to know this. X will become an option for gender on PA driver's licenses. According to drivers, it says here, drivers in Pennsylvania soon will be able to get a gender-neutral driver's license, according to the State Department of Transportation. Motorists will be able to... Motorists. Who calls anybody... Have you ever heard that term used by anywhere but in the media? I think when I was working at KDK, one of the producers or news director, somebody said, anybody who uses the word motorist will be fired. At least they should have said that. I think they said it. Just come up with something else. That's the word they used in 1909 when they talked about somebody who drives. Oh, he's a motorist. He drives a car with a motor in it. Who calls anybody a motorist? Have you ever heard anybody say that in a conversation? Never. Anyway, I just had to throw that in there. The change is expected to come next year, according to Erin Waters Tressault, a spokeswoman for PennDOT, and she says the agency has been monitoring what other states have been doing, and with customers have been asking for it. Now, my question for that would be, how many? Like, it's easy to just say, oh, yes, if 2 customers ask for it, that would be a true statement. But how many? How many? And then here's another thing. Nobody will do this story either, and I'm too lazy to do it or too busy or something. Maybe I could. Once they do put this option out there for the driver's license, how many people will actually have X put on their driver's license? 100? 1,000? In Pennsylvania, I'm talking about. 10,000? 500,000? I'm going to guess 12, okay? That would be my guess. About 12. But nobody will do that story. Somebody, please, call somebody at the Department of Motor Vehicles and find out how many people actually would do that. Go to the effort of having X put on their driver's license. Maybe some 3-year-olds would, but they don't have driver's licenses, so they wouldn't. Maybe if they could, maybe they should let them drive. Anyway. So there's a lot of jerks in there, and Mario Lopez. Is it Mario Lopez? Yeah, he's. I'm sorry, but he's a jerk. Not for having not for what he said originally, but for being too much of a sissy to stick up for what he was saying. I'll be right back. We're talking to Rocky Blyer. He's involved with the Miracle League of Moon Township and the construction of a Miracle League athletic field. The fields are designed to make it possible for kids with special needs to play sports.
Every child, no matter what the situation, deserves a chance to be able to play, to compete, and have a place that's safe, takes care of needs, that's organized. This will be the fourth Miracle League field that will be built. Now we got 4 places to be able to travel, so it broadens the whole interest of sports. It's just terrific for a community to do that.
There's a buddy system I thought was pretty impressive. What's that all about?
Kids with special needs have a buddy, a child who's in school. It's like having an older brother or sister involved with you. So it's really good, and that everybody has human dignity of being able to participate.
The website is miraclesinmoon.org. Check it out, and let's help make this dream a reality. Hey, Rocky, thanks, and we'll be talking to you again about this project. Appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Rocky Blyer, and we'll be right back. Recent storms have done a number on Pittsburgh homes and businesses. This is John Steigerwald. If you've had damage to your roof, windows, siding, or gutters and downspouts, you may be eligible to get them replaced or repaired free of charge. All you have to do is visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com for a free inspection from one of their highly trained appraisers. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, siding, gutters and downspouts, doors, and of course windows. If damage isn't your issue and you just want something new, you'll love their no-pressure approach, no hidden fees, and one of the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Why pay twice as much with other companies? Visit the area's premier exterior replacement company at WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Mention STAG for an additional 10% off at WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. That's WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Windows R Us, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday right here on the John Steigerwald Show. WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
Do you find yourself struggling to get comfortable while trying to read or watch TV in bed? Consider an adjustable bed from the Original Mattress Factory and elevate your sleep experience. Raise your head and feet to the zero-gravity position to help relieve joint pressure and provide optimal comfort. The Original Mattress Factory offers 2 models of high-quality adjustable beds at an excellent value. Both models are designed to pair perfectly with an original mattress. Visit an Original Mattress Factory location near you to find the perfect adjustable bed and mattress for you.
Sleep impacts your ability to focus, learn, and solve problems. But according to Harvard Medical School, only 11% of American college students are sleeping well. At the Original Mattress Factory, we can't guarantee that your college student won't stay up until 3 a.m. cramming before a big exam. But we can provide a hand-built, high-quality mattress at a factory direct price when they are finally ready to get some rest. Visit an Original Mattress Factory store near you or go to originalmattress.com to learn more.
You started your business with nothing but a great big idea. They told you it couldn't be done, but that just made you work harder to prove them wrong. Now look at you, ready to take on the world. Speed Pro Pittsburgh South gets where you're coming from. When they said they wanted to create great big graphics for great big ideas like yours in less time than anyone else, they were told it couldn't be done. Speed Pro Pittsburgh South just smiled and said, "Oh yeah? Watch us." When you need a large format printing partner who can provide high quality visual graphics in stunning detail, from trade show displays to outdoor signs, 3M brand vehicle wrap for your fleet, to window graphics, banners, and decals, Speed Pro Pittsburgh South can handle most jobs in 2 days or less, and can roll with last minute change-ups without breaking a sweat. Who says it can't be done? For a free quote, visit speedpropghsouth.com.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer.
Boy, does Rachel Maddow need an impeachment. She doesn't need to be impeached. She needs Donald Trump to be impeached to get her ratings up. She's now in 5th place. She came out in 5th place in July. 16 months ago, she was ahead of Sean Hannity on Fox. She was number 1. And it looked like MSNBC might be headed somewhere, but they're not. Tuesday, according to Nielsen, the ratings for July, Hannity was number 1 for the 4th month in a row. Maddow was in 5th That's at 9 o'clock, in case you didn't know what time she was on. I can't watch her for 10 seconds with the hand gesturing. Somebody on Twitter said she wears the same black outfit every night. That's not something I would notice. Maybe I'm sure it was a woman who noticed. I would never notice that. I don't care what she wears. But back then, she had 3.058 million viewers. That was the best ever for her back when she was number one. But last month, Maddow had a total audience of 2.5 million, down from 3.05. That's a big drop. Hannity is up at 3.3 million, but the October 2018, Maddow had finished. It was the first time since October 2018 that she finished outside the top 3 cable shows. She's dropped down to 5. And MSNBC had its least watched month among 25 to 54-year-olds. That's the number one demographic since Trump moved into the White House. So, and that's included, according to what's his name, Patton from NBC. I forget which is one. He's a writer for somebody here. I forget. We've had him on the show. I think USA Today, media guy. Anyway, he said that's even including Robert Mueller's hearings and everything. They haven't been able to get him back. So well-deserved ratings tanking by Rachel Maddow, and I don't know what they're going to do to get it back. They're trying hard, but they need another conspiracy, and what they need impeachment. That's going to get these people back who watch this, who are watching her show religiously. I was stunned to see her move into first place, but it's pretty obvious why. They were doing wishful thinking journalism, and they were attracting a lot of wishful thinkers who were all expecting, because of what they were saying on MSNBC, for Donald Trump to be marched out of the White House in handcuffs any minute. It didn't happen. I'll talk to you on Monday. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Aaron for another great job of producing, Aaron Byrne, and we'll see you Monday.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250, The Answer, and Salem Media Group.
Are you worried that the next market downturn could rob you of your wealth and your security? Are you concerned that your lifetime may